So here in this video, we're going to have a quick look at Notebook LM and just introduce some of its basic features. So we're going to go to notebooklm.google and log in with our existing Google account. And we're going to come across the top left and hit Create New. So this is the interface you'll get when you dive into a new notebook. And basically, it's split into different sections. So here on the left, we have the location where we can add our sources. So these can be PDFs, websites, text, videos, audio files, anything that we want to throw in there, we can link to YouTube videos and analyze them using Notebook LM. Once we've uploaded our sources, then we can begin to have a conversation with them. So we can start to get Notebook LM to analyze these different documents. So that might be asking it to cross-reference things, to create a literature review, to analyze patterns in the documents, or even to analyze the documents using specific techniques. And we can also make a podcast with Notebook LM. So across on the right, you can see we have this deep dive conversation. Essentially, we can use all those documents and create a podcast from those different sources. So let's dive in and add some sources, and then we will have a look at how this works. So we'll click across here on the left, click Add Source, and you can see we've got an option to upload sources or to choose a file to upload. We'll come in and upload this Final Cut Pro user guide. So we're going to base our sources around the concept of video editing, some of the tools, some of the techniques, and include some YouTube videos, some manuals, and that type of thing. So we'll open that up. So once we've uploaded our documents, you can see here we get some prompts for analyzing and working with our documents. So you can see we can add a note, we can create an audio overview, we can create a briefing document, or we can use some of the question prompts that we have down here. So how does Final Cut Pro manage and organize large video projects? So we'll select that. And you can see when we've asked the question of Notebook LM, it's going to give us a breakdown of the different techniques, but it's also going to give us references, which we can click on, and that will dive us into a specific portion of the document. Now, this doesn't upload images, so obviously in the user manual, there are images and screenshots and stuff like that within there. It's purely text-based in the way that it's working. We can close down our reference on the left there, and we'll go in, we'll add some more sources. So we'll jump in and we're going to add some of these website addresses. So we'll click website, we'll add a link there and paste that in. And again, it's going to load it up on the left here. And we'll go through these here. We've got a video about the fundamentals of video editing. We will copy that. And because these are all transcribed now, they have all the text based in them. Notebook LM will be able to kind of use that for its analysis of those documents. So we'll add another source, this time the YouTube video. And we'll just gather a few more of these across on the left. So now once I've added several sources, you can see I've got my YouTube videos. I have a number of different PDFs here, all relating to video editing. And we can analyze either all of these sources or one of these sources. So if I uncheck these, you can see essentially I can select all of these, or I can select individual documents. And then I can also refresh my conversation in the middle here, which will clear the conversation I've had. And you can see now that I've changed the source that I'm looking at, you can see the sources don't contain information about Final Cut Pro because I don't have the Final Cut Pro user guide selected. So it's kind of answering this question a little differently. And now you can see it's started to ask different questions below. So what are Walter Murch's 6 rules for editing? So we can click that. And then you can see we get these 6 rules for editing. So we're able to dive in and analyze and have kind of conversation with the documents. And you can see it's asking more questions across on the bottom, and then I can select other documents. I can also save if I'm interested in these specific answers that's been given to me. I can save those as notes, and it will save them as notes across on the right-hand side. And I'm going to add all of these in here. And we can start to ask some more specific questions on the topics that we've gathered those documents around. So you can see here I've given an overview of the tools and techniques a beginner video editor should study. And you can see we've got it broken down into some different sections here. So fundamental editing concepts, software specific tools and techniques, and then workflow and planning. And it's actually broken it down even into different types of trimming and 3-point editing, transitions and effects. So all the kind of key tools and all relating back to these specific documents. And then you can see it's also prompting new questions here at the bottom. So if we come down here, what are the 3 fundamental aspects? So if we come down here, before we do that, we'll just save this note. It's quite a nice one. We'll ask what are the 3 fundamental aspects of video editing. So you can see that this is relating just to one specific source. And when we click in there, it's going to link to the specifics of that source, so the transcript from that video. Now, as we're moving around here, you can see at the bottom here, we have a little note, which is that Notebook LM can be inaccurate. Please double check its responses. If we come across on the right hand side, you can see we've got this deep dive conversation option. So if we click the information, you can see what it's going to create. So it's going to create an AI generated interactive conversation in English only at the moment, but that hints that new languages may be coming, and then also some options to share the feedback. So we're feeding back into the system, teaching the AI to do its job better. So we've got some options here to customize it. So we can ask things that it should focus on in the article. I'm going to leave that blank for the moment, and then we can click generate. So it can take a few minutes to generate the audio, but once it's done, you can see we've got some options to give it a thumbs up if we like it once we've listened to it, and we can share it, so we can create public access to it. And then we've also got some options to download a file there. So if we click download, you can see it's creating a WAV file, so we can actually publish it to YouTube, create our own version of this podcast with some visuals as well. So we'll come here, we can come down to the play button and we'll listen to this.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. This time, we'll be exploring the world of Final Cut Pro, using the Final Cut Pro user guide as our map.
Yeah, we're going to dig deep and unearth those hidden gems and maybe even a few surprises.
Exactly. And, user guides, they can be a bit dry, a little intimidating even.
Yeah.
So we can jump through here as well, so we can kind of skip through.
Choose Retime to Fit, and Final Cut Pro automatically adjusts the speed of the clip to match the duration you need.
Whoa, that's seriously cool.
And after listening to this, it gives a really good overview, kind of like a fun back and forth podcast style, but it also dives deep into some of the kind of cooler techniques and tools within Final Cut Pro in this instance. Now, if we're not happy with this, we can come up to the right and we can delete this, and then we can ask it to recreate. We can also change the playback speed, so if you wanted to play it back at a slower speed, then you can go ahead and do that. There isn't any closed captioning at the moment, and that would be a nice addition, but overall, really nice kind of feature, and means you can add some documents, create a podcast, and then listen to it on your commute to and from work. So you've got a nice way of kind of accessing the content within these kind of heavier documents in a nice, easy to follow format. It'll give you a good overview. Obviously, there may be some hallucinations in there, but because you're adding in those different videos, those sources of truth and the PDFs, then it should be much more accurate than the general ChatGPT overviews that you can get. So if we delete this, that's the moment at which we can recreate it and customize it. So I'm going to jump in here and we'll ask it to focus on the theory and tools, to focus on its theory and tools of video editing. And what tools do I need as an editor? And then we'll click generate. So again, it might take a little while to regenerate that podcast, but once it's done, then we can hit play.
All right, let's dive in, shall we? Today, it's all about video editing. We're going to explore the core principles and the must-have tools, the essentials you need to start crafting something awesome visually.
Yeah, it can be a pretty daunting journey when you first start out. It's like, I don't know, kind of like stumbling into this huge unexplored jungle.
And again, different approach, but creating a really nice overview of those different topics within the different documents. So that's an overview of how to work with Notebook LM to dive in and kind of really have a conversation with some different documents that you're researching into for different topics. Could be useful as a way of creating lesson plans, reviewing a topic before you teach it, and then also producing some fun interactive assignments for your students. So you could ask students to, for instance, gather the documents and then create the podcast, listen to it, analyze it, maybe look for errors there might be, or try different techniques out to analyze the documents in different ways. What will be important within Notebook LM and in the AI tools is learning how to write these prompts. So how can we analyze those documents in different ways to advance our research aims, so to be more critical and analytical of the documents that we're using. If you do have any questions, then please do get in touch.